Well, another trucking company lied. um, I'm not going to mention their name. They're a small, truly insignificant trucking company. You don't have to be worried that you're going to be recruited by them. They only recruit when they have an open truck. They have very few trucks. Uh, they were the one that during my first day of orientation, their recruiter called and said they got a truck available and would I be interested? I said, well, I'm on orientation here at Merck Global. And, it says, if something changes, I'll let you know. Well, the next day I found out Merck Global, their recruiter just lied. And then Merck Global didn't want to honor what their recruiter said. For that company, don't ever work for them. They're a horrible company. But this company here, pretty horrible itself, but they're so small, I'm not concerned that you might actually accidentally work for them. The owner is more involved in construction. It's almost like his trucking company is a side venture or something like that. I got back, went in and saw them. On Monday, I think it was. No, it was Friday. It was Friday. No, Monday. One of those 2 days. I went and talked to them, and they're very enthusiastic for me to join them. Then they showed me their truck, and I told them, well, I saw there was a stick truck, and I says, I thought I had told their office manager that I need an automatic transmission because I have an automatic transmission restriction on my license. And without missing a beat, the owner said that, oh, that's not a problem. We'll get you trained in driving stick. And so, okay, but like, how long is that going to take to do? And they said, oh, some guys get just 1 day, some up to 4 days. And they said, we've done this with other drivers before. They had automatic transmission on restriction on their license. We've even trained drivers to learn how to drive truck and send them to DMV. So, okay. And he says, well, and he says, we have a big parking lot right near there. We're just K-corn to their building, and I can go over there and train. And okay. I wasn't sure about it. They seemed very sure about it, both the owner and his brother, who was the recruiter, and the guy that called me up when I was at Merck General. Then they were to call up the transportation Department of Transportation. My license is from Wisconsin, but my girlfriend's house is in Iowa. And back when I did OTR, I used my Wisconsin address. It's an address of a very close dear friend of mine, and it wasn't a post office box; it was an actual address. And he would get my mail, go through it, call me if there was anything I needed to know. All the time I did OTR, he never called, and nothing in the mail was worth calling. When I would drive through, I'd check it, and yeah, none of it was important. But anyways, well, they said that this recruiter, and he's also dispatcher, was going to call the two DOTs, and we're going to find out which one I can get this restriction taken off the fastest. So, okay. And I was told, I'll give you a call today or tomorrow. Well, he didn't call me on Monday. He didn't call me on Tuesday. So I came into what I assumed was going to be my workplace on Wednesday, and he said, oh, he called once to the Department of Iowa, Transportation and Department of Iowa, and they didn't answer. And that to me didn't sound right. But he says, I'll call them both places today, and I'll get hold of you either later today or tomorrow. Okay. He didn't call me on Wednesday. He didn't call me on Thursday. So I came in on Friday. And he had told me that he only called the Department of Iowa. And in Iowa, they have a 14-day training permit that you have to go through. And then it turned out that, and he had called the Department of Transportation for Wisconsin. Just a lazy ass guy, just lazy ass, bordering on incompetent, brother of the owner, and it showed. Whatever. So I walked out of the building, got my phone, called Department of Transportation. Surprise, surprise, I got them in 2 minutes. Found out that I just need to get a permit, and then I need to get tested, and then the restrictions taken off my license. So as soon as I get a permit for driving, then I practice however long I want. I think I had up to 30 days to learn it. And then they had a list of independent testers that I could then go to, get tested. And then once I passed the test, then they would take off the restriction on my license. Okay, so it's much faster than Iowa. So I said, okay, I went back on in. I told Sean the owner was there. And I said, well, this is what's going on. And I said, I'm going to go up there to Wisconsin. And they're the ones talking about trying to get the fastest way for me to get my restriction off my license. And so I jumped in a car, drove up to Madison, got the permit, came back. And then during that meeting, he says, coming in at 7 or 8 o'clock, Scott, that's the recruiter, I won't use their last names, he will take me over to the parking lot. He'll show me how to do the shift. He'll watch me do the shift. And when he feels comfortable, he'll just leave me there and I can just practice. And once that's bobtail without a trailer. And then once I felt comfortable doing that, they'll add a trailer, then I would get to practice with that. And then I found out from Wisconsin, there's only a road test. So Iowa is a complete DMV test, pre-trip, inspection, the backing ups, et cetera. And then you do the road trip if you pass those. All right. So I set my alarm clock, woke on up, got there at 8. He wasn't there. Scott wasn't there. And I waited. And I waited for about an hour. He still didn't show up. Well, the owner was working on a house, building a house about 2 blocks away, you could say. So I walked up there and he said, I'll give Scott a call and he'll come on down. Went back, another hour passed. No, none of him. Then an owner operator that kind of works for them showed up and just wanted to make sure his truck was going to start up. We had snow the night before, kind of like the first snowfall of the year here. He just wanted to make sure his truck was in running condition. And he was also meaning to talk to Scott about something else. And him and I started talking and eventually ended up in his pickup truck. And so we're just chatting away. I learned a lot about the company from this guy. And then he said, well, why don't I just give Scott a call? He had a direct line. And he called Scott. And he talked with him first. And then he said, hey, the trucker owner operator said, hey, there's a Jack Decker here. We're waiting for you to show up. Oh, yeah. He says, yeah, I'll give him a call. And then he said, oh, I'm sick. I can't come on in. And then he started mumbling, like, whatever. And then he says, I just don't feel comfortable having you driving our truck with no driving experience or driving stick. And I said, well, that's not what you said, Monday. And, I've been thinking about it. And Iowa wants you to do for 14 days training. It says, yeah, but you're not willing to pay me for that, right? And no, we won't pay for that. See, this is, again, truly amateur hour. Okay. I don't know of a single trucking company that would have you, that would not pay you. Okay. Anyways. I wasn't going to argue. Why argue with him? I mean, what would be the point? So I said, so you're okay. So you're what, letting me go or whatever? Not that I've actually started working for you. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of trucking companies out there, and I'm stuttering because he was stuttering when he was talking to me. That will hire someone that has an automatic transmission. There's a lot of companies out there with automatic transmission trucks, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't, at this point, I didn't care. Okay. And so, okay, bye. And got out of the truck and left. Then I walked up to where this owner is and, sorry, coward. He saw me and he told one of his guys that was at the construction site, he could come down and talk to me like, oh, I don't know, like a man. But instead, coward, okay? Real coward. Told one of his construction workers to tell me that he'll call me. Well, by the way, it's like 10 o'clock here at night. He never called me. And he would have to get my number from Scott to give me a call. When I found out that the truck had stick, I was going to just walk out. So, but they're the ones that convinced me that I would learn it quickly. That only take me, they say usually about 1 day, but maybe up to 4 days. Everything's going to be fine. You can go over here and train. So I was okay. But then this Scott guy drags his ass. And I don't find this out until basically a full work week has gone through. So now they've wasted a work week of my life. Trucking companies lie to you. If you are a wannabe trucker, realize that trucking companies lie to you. And I don't think it even matters if it is in writing. To be honest about it, I don't think that really matters in writing. Not all trucking companies will lie to you, but just run on the assumption that when you're talking to a recruiter, they're lying through their ass. There's something that there's going to be you're going to get some deal out of it, but it's probably not going to be what the recruiter told you about. Because they're hired to get people in there. And I think part of their philosophy is that you'll put up with shit when you find out that they lied. I mean, that's what Merck Global did with me. They knew that I wanted a Dynet sleeper. The first day of orientation, their safety people were trying to talk me out of it, and DNRP talking about it. They knew it. And then they tried to force on an old, and for their company, an old truck. And it was a double bunk. And why I didn't go with them was simply because, one, that wasn't a Dynet sleeper. That's what they promised. But also, if they're not making that promise, keeping that promise, what other promise won't they be keeping? I mean, this doesn't just apply for if you're a trucker. This is applied to if you're working for anyone. Okay, when you're hired, when they're doing the sales pitch to you. Okay, now I realize that if you're working for Burger King, the from when they hire you to when you work could be literally just 1 day, if not that day. Okay, but any employer that lies to you and then expects you to continue to work with them after they have not held up their end of the deal, you shouldn't work for. Just period. Well, with trucking companies, it's even worse because we may be out in nowhere, and then you hate to find out that some other promise they made to you isn't going to happen. Anyways, this is probably a good thing. My brother, he had reservations about this place. Anyways, and then I found out from the owner operator, another thing they lied was that they had told me that on the Friday, when you work Monday through Friday with them, on Friday, they square everything and they pay you at that time. Well, I found out from the owner operator, it's actually 2 weeks. You do the work week, they square it up, but they don't deposit the money. They wait until another week, and then they deposit the money into your account. Now, I'm very certain the reason why they do that is they're waiting to be paid by these other people. And they're, so essentially you're giving them a week's free loan of the money. Now this sucks. I'm more upset that they strung me along for a work week, and didn't just tell me that this was going to be an issue. And they're the ones I spent no time, I didn't speak a single word of trying to convince them to hire me. I was when I saw that stick, I said, I can't, I have an automatic restriction on my license. Basically, well, I go. And then that's when the owner jumped in and said, oh no, we can train you to do this. It only takes a day to 4 days to do this. And then Scott, his brother said, oh yeah, only this little bit of time. And then but I also found out from the owner operator, Scott's the only one. When you call breakdown, you're calling Scott. That's it. So if you're broke down in the evening or at night or way early in the morning, you're waking him on up. And from how that owner operator talked to me, apparently Scott was not always that happy to hear you at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. That, and this is not uncommon with small trucking companies. I came from, well, I went into the OTR, I came from night, and they had a full-time 24-hour breakdown. They had 24-hour dispatch. Now that didn't mean you had dispatch from your terminal, but they transfer you to another terminal, mainly I think their headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, and you talk to someone there. You always had someone to talk to. And when you had breakdown, they had 24-hour coverage. Well, this doesn't. And the owner operator was trying to be as diplomatic as he was when he was talking about this company. But basically he says, I only view these guys as getting me loads. And that's pretty much the only thing he looked at them for. So he didn't have to spend all day, and you're not supposed to do that when you're driving, be looking at a web screen, a web page, trying to hook a good paying load. And so that's what this small little trucking company did for him. And because he was an owner operator, he was in a different relationship with them, because he even said, I think for you company drivers, you get 30% of what the load costs. Anyways, well, Merck was one of 4 that I made my final cut. I've emailed the other 3. I'm expecting to hear from them on Monday, telling them literally it was like, hi, their name. And, Merck Global lied repeatedly. And I'm now back on the market. Is a job above still available? And then I also told them, just FYI, I now have a hazmat endorsement on my license. Would that get me a better deal, a better contract? Give me a call. And so I'm waiting for them to call me. One is a mega carrier, and they would pay the most without a guaranteed weekly income. Another one would pay me, is a regional one, and they only do Midwest. And they would pay me $80,000 plus a $5,000 signing bonus, so basically $85,000 for my first year. And the second one was they paid weekly. Oh, and that regional one, they would pay daily. And but it's Monday through Friday. There was the way I read it was they did not run their drivers on the weekends. And then there was a private fleet. It was for a pork processing plant here in Iowa. Monday through Friday, they would pay me the least. It'd be $66,900. They have a signing bonus, I think like $30,000, something like that. And but if I worked Saturday, I'd get another $290 from them. If I work a Sunday, I'd get another $290 from them. And so if I work 7 days a week, I'd actually make more than I would from this regional one. If I work just Monday through Friday, I would make more money with the regional trucking company than with this private fleet, because that would be it'd be 85,000 compared to 66,900. But just working 6 days a week with this pork processing plant, that would get me up to 88,000. And if I worked 7 days a week, it'd get me up to over 99,000. So if I wanted to be just full time, I would make more money with them. But the recruiter I talked to, when it's their peak season, weekends are not guaranteed. But I'm not so much concerned about weekends. I'm more concerned about I'm thinking about going back to being a nomad, driving full time, 7 days a week. And so if I went with them, I'd make $5,000 more than the regional one. But then they also talked to that during their slow period, I might only be doing 5 days a week. Is that uncertainty? So I'll see what the recruiters say, see if anything has changed with them. See the mega carrier at the time I talked to him, I didn't have a hazmat endorsement on my license. He was pitching me to be home every weekend. So he was pitching me Monday through Friday jobs. So I'm expecting him to call me on Monday, and I'm going to be talking to him. Well, what if I became a nomad trucker? What if I I lived on my truck and ran every day? And over all this, I talked to my brother. He's he's an older brother. He's 2 years older than me, and he really is my older brother. I have a still older brother, but he's 6 years ahead. So when I was growing up, he was way ahead of me and just didn't want to deal with me at all. So really, my second oldest brother is who I really view as my oldest brother. And he was, so I touched base with him. I asked for counsel, and his counsel to me was, and since I talked to him about all this, he's been really paying attention to the news about the trucker shortage, et cetera. And his advice to me was go for the most money. Go with a major carrier. He said, if it doesn't work out, everyone's looking for truckers. You'll be able to find another trucking job. So that's what I'm planning on doing. But then again, maybe these are two will make better offers. I think I now realize I can probably get everything that I felt I need to be here for weekends arranged ahead of time, so I can take off and go back to being a nomad trucker. I will still keep an eye out for other trucking companies. If you're a trucking company, first of all, you feel free to contact me. On my about page is my email address. You can get it by just checking the mark that you're not a robot. And we're going to talk. But hopefully if you see this one, you're actually watching this channel, and maybe you'll learn a little bit more about me at that time. But this kind of sucked this week. I was really upset. I came home just fuming. It really sucks being lied to. And I think they led me along, and they got cold feet. But here's the thing. They lied to me, okay? Because now he says, well, I don't know about, he was worried about driving up a hill and burning out the clutch and this type of stuff. But they had told me they had trained other drivers, and that, that one most only take a day, and then one took up to 4 days, and we trained one driver from scratch, got him his CDL, without the restriction on my transmission. Looking back on it and the way they're acting now, that was a lie. Okay, I think they were so desperate for truckers, and a lot of trucking companies are, and they'll probably sit there forever. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But he was so anxious to get me. The office manager, who is I think the daughter of the owner, she said when they had a guy quit, that he panicked, and do you have Jack's number? And so, and when he called me, he was that way. But it's just, I understand it. And maybe what I think is that they just had cold feet. And they had cold feet because what they told me was a lie, that they had actually had people like me, truck drivers who had an automatic transmission restriction on their license, come into them. And I don't think that was true at all. I think I was their first one that they had someone that had an automatic transmission restriction. And over the work week, the Scott guy got both feet. But here's the other thing too, is that there's our problems. He didn't. He told me that he was going to do this, so I didn't do it myself, and I probably should have done it myself. But I would call it right then and there and got the information from DOT. I would have gone up to Madison, got my learner permit, come down and start doing this thing. But also they wouldn't pay me. I would be more than willing to still work for them for those 2 weeks if they would pay me something while those 2 weeks are going on. To expect me to not, to work for, to be in 2 weeks and not being paid, when that's not how the industry works. I don't know. Especially when there's years of opportunity. I talked to a trucker that I went to trucker school with, and he had the same automatic transmission restriction on his license, and the company that he's currently working for, he went out for 2 weeks with one of their drivers, and he was still paid an hourly rate, but he was paid something. And so I don't know. I think this is just, I think it dodged the bullet again. I think this is probably the smallest trucking company I'll ever even consider working for. And in the future, if I find out a trucking company is, when the owner is more concerned about his construction company than about his trucking company, that kind of says it right there, where he hires his brother. It's a family affair, but his brother is, seemed like a person that didn't want to work. Seemed like a very lazy person, not sure of himself. So I'm glad I'm not working with him. I really am. So anyways, I guess it's turning more into a diary about me getting back into the trucking industry. Or I am in it, but they're going with a new employer. I know when I'll make the next video, probably, I don't want to have something to report. I'm expecting to finalize my selection on Monday when I talk to the recruiters, if they don't call me tomorrow. And I'll pick one of them. Right now, I'm leaning towards one of them. It'd be the mega carrier, but I'll see what the other two say. But with the mega carrier, I'll be more talking to them about, well, what if I was a nomad? What type of money could I make as a nomad, and see how that goes. And I don't know. We'll see. But this is an update on what's going on in my little trucking life. And I will make another video when I have something new to say. Until then, bye.